What is up? What is up, awesome people of the internet? Guys, it is Monday, and you know what that means? Another sort of weekend update about what happened over the weekend, what you all need to know about in the WNBA. We're talking about Arike Ogunbowale and what in the world is going on with the Dallas Wings. We're talking about the cut down dates and how various players on various teams have gotten waived and what this means for the future for each team, because everything's kind of set in stone from here on out. A whole lot more to talk about for today's episode of Quita in the Morning, which starts right now.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Ready, set, go.
Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. Okay, let's get into these games that happened yesterday, and let's actually first start off talking about the games that happened on Saturday, and then we'll kind of move on to yesterday's games, and then talk about what all of this means, because it's a whole bunch to talk about. So first up is Saturday's games. Saturday, July 12th, we saw two really, really, really fantastic games, and two games that kind of went down to the wire of sorts. First up, we'll talk about quickly talk about the Chicago Sky versus the Minnesota Lynx game. You all know me and Mama was there. We recorded a video after the game was over with our various thoughts about the game. Ultimately, the Chicago Sky took down the Minnesota Lynx. The final score of that game was 87 Chicago Sky, 81 Minnesota Lynx. In this game, we saw from the get-go, Angel, Kamilla, and Ariel Atkins kind of dominate. We saw a lot of high-low action between Angel and Kamilla down low, and we saw a lot of sort of vintage Ariel Atkins when in her Washington Mystics days. The reason why we traded for her, like, we saw that on full display on Saturday, as basically they were kind of unstoppable. Crazy first half for Angel in particular, but the rest of the game we just saw a lot of fantastic play by the Chicago Sky. But player of the game for sure was Ariel Atkins, 27 points. Put some respect on her name. I know that the narrative is to just hype up Angel and Kamilla. However, they don't win this game. Even if Angel and Kamilla do exactly what they did on Saturday, they don't win it without Ariel Atkins. So while people are talking about the great game that Kamilla and Angel had, in the same breath, you got to talk about the great game that Ariel Atkins had as well. It's only fair. It's only fair. Okay, it is only fair. But double doubles for both Kamilla and Angel, and I mean the skyscrapers are just getting started. I'm just saying. Okay, and also a thing to note in that game, which we'll talk about more in just a sec. But in that game, we saw the Minnesota Lynx decide not to play Alyssa Peely in that game. She had a DMP in that one. And then we found out just hours later that Alyssa Peely got waived from the team. I'll talk about that more in the next segment. However, it is kind of weird because you go on a road trip where you're going to be gone for a couple of days. You don't play in the first game, and hours after that, you get a phone call or the GM talks to you in person. I mean, because everyone's there in Chicago, and they say, "Hey, sorry, but you just got waived." It's very awkward, but we'll talk about that more in just a sec. Next up, let's talk about the wild game that was the Valkyries versus the Aces, guys. This was the game that A'ja Wilson wore, that throwback jersey, right? She had the do-rag and she had throwback jersey on. And this was also A'ja Wilson's return game, and she just went on and cooked. Okay? This game was basically A'ja and Jackie Young versus the Golden State Valkyries. That's basically what it was. Because A'ja Wilson, I mean, the MVP as she is. 37 points, guys. And crazy stat. 12 of 16 from the field. 12 of 16, guys. Wild efficiency for Asia. And you're wondering, okay, well, if she only shot 12 field goals and only one was a 3, how did she end up with 34 points? Well, the free throw line. Asia Wilson had 12 free throws in Saturday's game, made 9 of them. Ultimately, 39 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. Basically, guys, 0 turnovers. Basically, guys, Asia Wilson was in her bag. She made her return, and she was like, you know what? Nah, we've been playing like crap, okay? This team has been playing like crap, and we need to do something about it. We are, at that point, they were 9-11 on the season. 9-11, so 9 wins, 11 losses. And on Saturday, she's like, nah, get this team on my back, and we about to win some games. Because we just lost to the Mystics. This can't happen. Let's go. And then it wasn't only Asia Wilson who was cooking in that game on Saturday, because while we talk about how great of a game Asia had, we also equally have to talk about how great of a game Jackie Young had. Now, Jackie Young has, in my opinion, been a little sporadic this year, right? Some games she has been flat out amazing, and then in other games she's been like, okay, and not yesterday, Saturday's game, she was flat out phenomenal. 30 points for her. She shot about 64% from the field. She also was another player who got to the free throw line like crazy and was making her shots. She was rocking out, guys. Absolutely rocking out. So it was Batman and Robin, basically, for the Las Vegas Aces. And for the Golden State Valkyries, it really was 2 against the whole team. Because when we see the Golden State Valkyries, once again, the thing I love to see, and yes, the Valkyries did lose the game. Absolutely, they did lose the game. However, the thing I love to see about the Golden State Valkyries is how much cohesion they have, how much of a team they really are, where you can score 102 points in a game and not have one player scoring 20 points. Not one. The highest scoring player for the Golden State Valkyries in that game was Janelle Salon and Tiffany Hayes, who both had 16 points apiece. This is what I love about Golden State, because they really are a team. It really is everybody who makes this thing happen. Now, overall, there wasn't much defense had, in this game. However, I just love the way that Golden State plays as a team. And yes, that they have an opportunity to win at the end of the game. They absolutely did. But, it is what it is. Yes, you end up losing this game. However, really good season so far for the Golden State Valkyries. And I am like, I'm loving what I'm seeing by the Valks. They just, it's hard. It's hard to win when you got both Asia and Jackie scoring 30 plus. So, it's understandable, but I do got to continue to give a shout out, as I feel like I always do, to the Golden State Valkyries, because the way that they play on the offensive end, it's smooth, guys. It's smooth basketball. Low turnovers for the Golden State Valkyries. Like, it's just great basketball. I just had to talk about it. Yes, they lose. However, this is a really good team. Really, really, really good team. Okay. Now let's move on to the games that happened yesterday, including a game that y'all keep talking about in the chat, which we're gonna get to. All right. And actually, I'm gonna leave Indiana versus Dallas last because it seems like in the chat that's the one that y'all most want to talk about. So we're gonna save it for the end so we can give equal justice to the other teams that played yesterday. Okay. All right. First up, guys, I want to talk about the Washington Mystics versus the Seattle Storm because once again, the Mystics do it again. I love to see the Washington Mystics play. I think the Washington Mystics are such a fun team. This is a team that truly, I keep saying it, at the beginning of the season, I did not think this team was going to be good. I did not expect them to be as good as they are, but here we are with a record of 11 wins, 10 losses. The Washington Mystics, man, this team is rocking and rolling. And once again, they have beat a team that they had no business beating. No business beating, right? Remember, this is the same team that just beat the Las Vegas Aces, right? 3-game winning streak for the Washington Mystics, and gotta give a shout out to the way that this team plays because they're another team that really does play like a team, right? It really is like multiple players who are stepping up and making stuff happen. Faye says Kiki had a double-double again. She absolutely did. Not only that, she did make franchise history as well. But we're going to get to that in just a sec. However, this Washington Mystics team, with the young players they have on the floor, are rocking and rolling, right? They are rocking and rolling, guys. First up, you are led by Brittany Sykes, who, ended up with 19 points in this game, 4 assists, 4 rebounds for Slim. She's been rocking and rolling. Right now, has this been the best season for Slim? I would say it was really good until she got hurt, and then when she came back, she was not the same necessarily. But now she's getting back to it. She's getting back to her normal game, and that is very, very, very good to see. And it wasn't just Brittany Sykes, right? Brittany Sykes shot around like 53% or so from the field. It wasn't just her, guys. Yesterday, we saw a whole lot of the rooks. Sonia Citron and Kiki Iriafen do their thing once again. All right, Sonia Citron shoots a little bit under 500 from the field, and or 50% from the field, I should say. And she had 17 points in this one. Big time scorer for this Washington Mystics squad. Kiki Iriafen, another double-double, 10 rebounds, 10 points. She's rocking and rolling. Here's the thing, and also, can I give a big shout out to Shakira Austin? Yes, Shakira does not finish with a double-double, just 9 points, 7 rebounds. However, the way that she was getting her teammates involved was absolutely huge. Absolutely huge in yesterday's game. Five assists for Shakira Austin. It is very, very good to see now. She does need to clean up those turnovers, okay? Her and Sonia, they need to clean up those turnovers. However, really, really good game for the Washington Mystics. This game was a game that, again, I didn't expect them to win because they're playing a very good team that is actually turning into what they had last year in the Seattle Storm. So here's the deal. Basically, the Mystics owned the second half of the game, right? And sometimes you come out the gate and you're kind of neck and neck in the first half, and it's all about the second half. How do you turn on the Jets? And for the Washington Mystics, in that second half was where things really got going. Specifically in that third quarter, just dominating down low, right? And playing some really solid defense against a really, really good team for the Seattle Storm, right? It's very, very, very good to see. But I got to say this. The Seattle Storm, what in the world? The Seattle Storm, once again, are a very, very good team on paper that is not totally living up to their talent. Here's the deal. Last year, coming into the season, last season in 2024, I was saying, hey, this Seattle Storm team is a very good team. They had a lot of great players on that team, right? A lot of great players. And they had sparks of like really good stuff. And then they had other games where it's like, what in the world? Like, why are you playing so bad? Why do you look discombobulated? Why are you losing to this team that you have no business losing to? Because on paper, you are drastically better than this team. Now, we're getting to that point again this year where it's like, Seattle, what is going on, right? Right? We're wondering what in the world is going on with the Seattle Storm, because, again, really, really good team. And, again, have no business losing. No business losing to the team they lost to. I'm just saying. I am just saying, guys. Just saying. Here's the deal. Sometimes you have periods of times where you're struggling a little bit. And I would say for the Seattle Storm, like the Seattle Storm is like almost there. They're almost there. Because again, we look at the squad that has, in my opinion, one of the best point guards out there right now, is Skylar Diggins, my apologies, Skylar Diggins, right? Skylar she's an all-star for a reason, because she's been cooking this year, right? Absolutely cooking. You have Arike Ogunbowale, who is having a hugely successful season this year, right? She has been overall rocking and rolling. You see a resurgence of a Erica Wheeler, who has been cooking this year and showing people that, hey, she's not washed. She still got it, and she's better than you thought she was, right? And then you have a game like yesterday where the two players who are all-star status, all WNBA status, go in the game and kind of lay an egg, guys. Yesterday, Skylar and Nneka struggled. Struggle fest for both of those players. Both of them, right? For Skylar, normally Skylar is given around 18 points a game, 6 assists, roughly, right? That's normally what she's given. And yesterday, 10 points. She only had 4 assists, right? Costly turnovers. Costly turnovers. And you shoot just 28% from the field. 28%. Now, all season, you're around a 40, 45-ish field goal percentage shooter, right? And yesterday, you couldn't hit shots. And when it mattered the most, turnover. Then you got Nneka. Nneka having a all WNBA season. Nneka has been great this year. I've loved watching Nneka this year. Right? She's been really, really good down low. But yesterday, she wasn't as effective. Yes. Does she hit her scoring average? Sure, she does. However, it's the way that she did it. Right? It's the fact that she struggled to score. Around 33% from the field, right? For a team that has so much basketball IQ, for costly decisions and costly mistakes to be made at the end of the game, both on the offense and defensive end, like that's not something that you expect to see from a elite team like a Seattle Storm. And so, once again, you have a disappointing loss for the Seattle Storm, a team that had no business losing, but they still lose anyway. All right. So just to recap for this season. The Seattle Storm have lost to the Mystics. They lost to the Sun, the Connecticut Sun, right? Of course, losing to the Valkyries, I don't think that's a big deal because we all know how good the Valkyries are. They lost to the Fever, not a big deal. They lost to the Aces, not a big deal. Lost to the Dream, not a big deal. Lost to the Lynx, not a big deal. But the fact that this team has lost to two of the worst teams in the WNBA, though the Mystics the Mystics were perceived to be the worst, one of the worst teams coming into the WNBA. Definitely one of the worst teams in the Connecticut Sun. You got to get it together, Seattle. Like, you have the talent. Like, talent is not your issue. It's just putting it all together for 40 minutes. That's what it's all about. And can they do that? I think they can, but they're not playing like it right now. They're not playing like it. All right. Let's move on to the other games that happened on Saturday, or Sunday, I should say. Rotu said, thank you for making a comment about the game I'm talking about. We're going to get to the other games that y'all talk about in the chat. We're going to get to them. Rotu says, the Storm are definitely not looking good with the talent they have. Yeah, they're a really good team for the talent that they've had. Faye says, the Misses are a good team. They have proven it. They have proven it now, yes. But again, coming in, no one thought they were going to be good. But yes, they have proven that they are a good team. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the LA Sparks versus the Connecticut Sun. I got to say, shout out to the Connecticut Sun for kind of getting back in the game. Shout out to the Connecticut Sun for, like, first of all, coming out of the gate storming in that first quarter. And yes. Ultimately, the LA Sparks end up winning 92-88. But the Connecticut Sun, they fought. They fought throughout this game. They also, yes, this is something to note. Taylor says Seattle also don't have injuries disrupting their season, which is strange. Yes, that is something to note. Yes, that is absolutely something to note, because even when it came to Eurobasket, right? Gabby Williams and Dominique Malunga decided to stay, right? So they've had a lot of continuity. They've had a lot of times where they're just together, where other teams are having to make lots of changes and blah 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 blah. Okay, anyway. So the Connecticut Sun, valiant effort for them in yesterday's game against the LA Sparks, but ultimately they end up losing. Again, final score 92-88. Rickea Jackson. Rickea Jackson is funny. Rickea Jackson, her and Bria Hartley get into it a little bit at the game yesterday. And Rickea Jackson, her clapback was so funny, okay? Because basically they got into it, and then it looked like Rickea called Bria Hartley weak, and then I think after the game, somebody posted it on Twitter. After the game, it looked like Bria put who's weak as blank, and then Rickea put whoever lost today. See, that's like I'm down for that type of stuff. Like, I think that's like that's fun. That's just very, very fun. Just back and forth. Like, again, they're competitors. It's not moving into other stuff. It's just nice. Ha ha ha. That's hilarious. And we move on type of things. But yeah, Rickea Jackson. Yeah, Rickea Jackson is fun. 19 points for her, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. Yeah, she's rocking and rolling. Nevi says Rickea is so funny. Yeah, Rickea is hilarious. She is. She's funny. She's funny. Yeah. It depends on the context of that word, and in that context, nah. Okay. Anyway. Anyway. Again, fantastic game for Rickea Jackson down the stretch in yesterday's game. And I gotta say, can we give a shout out to Sanaya Fagan? Yes, Sanaya Fagan does not score that many. She does not play very many points. However, Sanaya Fagan had a fantastic block in yesterday's game. Can we give a shout out? Can we give a shout out? Okay. I'm just saying. Okay. I am just saying, guys. All right, but KP did her thing yesterday as well. 23 points for the Plum Dog. And then De'Erica Hamby, of course, she is De'Erica Hamby, and the same thing for Azurá Stevens. The thing I love about this LA Sparks team is, yes, you have KP, who, like, you know, everybody's looking out for Kelsey Plum because she can knock down them threes, and she can go crazy, right? Absolutely. However, it is the steady Freddiness, I'm making that into a word, the steady Freddiness of both De'Erica and Azurá that, to me, make this LA Sparks team able to compete and able to always stay in it, because you have two really, really, really elite post players down low. Azurá Stevens, yeah, probably should have been an all-star, but, you know, it is what it is. 21 points, 11 rebounds for Azurá, and for De'Erica Hamby, 17 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists for her. Now, that is the LA Sparks. Very good win for the LA Sparks. Now we move on. Let's see. LL Kune says Sanaya needs to be on the floor a lot more. Let her get into the groove. I don't see that happening. Like, I really don't. Like, the way that the LA Sparks play, I don't see Sanaya getting a lot of minutes. I really don't. Now, the few minutes she gets in, she has to score. She has to score, and she has to take advantage of the few minutes she get in. Of course, we know she can block shots. We know she can play some defense and whatnot. But we need to see her score, right? That's the only way she's going to get more minutes. The way things are currently positioned for the LA Sparks, I don't see her getting minutes. I don't see anything changing until she fully takes advantage of the limited minutes she has, because the minutes are not just going to increase. I don't think they will. Because, again, if you look at the offense that Lynn Roberts likes to run, it's a very everybody can shoot a three type of offense, and a very, like, you know, spread out type of offense. And, like, you got to show that you can play in that consistently to actually get some minutes. So, like, I don't see it changing. However, you know, the minutes that she gets in, take advantage on both the offensive and defensive end to prove that you can make stuff happen. Okay? Okay. All right. Now let's move on to the Connecticut Sun. Now, yes, the Connecticut Sun end up losing. However, I do have to give some shout outs, okay? Number one. Shout out to Bria Hartley. Shout out to Bria Hartley, a player who was not even in the league last year, right? She was out the league. Now she's back in the league, and she has made a home in Connecticut with her former coach, Rashid Mezian. Bria Hartley is not the greatest point guard out there, right? She's not. However, she is a overall really good look for this Connecticut Sun team. Now, is she always on her game? Is she out, or like her and like JC or whatever, like the point guard, shooting guard thing? But is Bria Hartley always on her game and always dominating? No, she's not. However, when she's on, she looks pretty good, right? And yesterday, I gotta say, Bria Hartley was on. Okay, 25 points for her. Dropped 4 threes in yesterday's game. 6 assists. Just 1 turnover. Here's the deal. The problem with the Connecticut Sun is they don't have consistency, right? They don't have a lot of consistency. But when they're on, I mean, they look very good. I'm just saying, they look very good. Next up, let's talk about Sanaya Rivers, who I also just, y'all know, I've been big on Sanaya Rivers for a long time. Okay, I've been big on her for a long time. I think she's phenomenal on both the offensive and defensive end. And she once again proved it yesterday. She once again proved it yesterday. Sanaya Rivers. Let me just get 20 points. Is that impressive? Sure. 6 rebounds? Sure. But I gotta say, when it comes to Sanaya Rivers, it's not just her scoring potential that you get her defense as well. So shout out to Sanaya Rivers. Like she is someone who will get after it on defense. Does a lot of the little work, a lot of the great help defense. Just a lot of great stuff. Sanaya Rivers does. Now, is she the perfect player? No, she's not. She's still a rookie. She's still learning. She's still growing. However, I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. The future for this Connecticut Sun team is that this is Sanaya Rivers' team. That's the future. Right? That's the future. The way I see it, it really is Sanaya Rivers because she, yes. You put Sonya, but W Brazil says Sanaya Rivers has heart. She does. She has a lot of heart. She has a lot of heart. A lot of heart. Right? And she plays with it. She plays with it. I love to see Sanaya Rivers play. And she just, yeah, she keeps rocking and rolling. She keeps rocking and rolling. Okay. Also, big shout out to the other rook, Anissa Morrow, who came in the game, almost got close to a double-double. 10 points, 7 rebounds for Anissa. But yeah, just Connecticut played a good game. They really did. They played a really good game, and ultimately they lose. Ultimately they lose, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay. Mike says Rivers might be a superstar. I told y'all. Well, yeah, too. Look, Rakia didn't want to lose. Rakia was like, I'm not losing. She's like, hey, I'm at home. I'm not losing. No way. All right. And guys, remember, Connecticut is still playing without Marina Mabry. Marina Mabry is still out with a left knee injury, and just imagine Marina slotted in. If Marina is on the team the way they played yesterday, Connecticut might have that win. So things are starting to progress for basically all teams in the WNBA. And Connecticut did make some changes before the game. They waived some players. We're going to talk about that more in just a sec. But first, guys, I want to talk about my friends at Monarch Money. So, here's the deal. You all, as we all, are, very money conscious, right? There's a lot of times where I find myself personally struggling to keep track of all the subscriptions that I subscribe to, all of the things that I do for both this channel and both for my personal life. And sometimes, we end up with financial blind spots of like where our money is going and why, which is where Monarch Money comes in. If you all are anything like me, you need a place to be able to put all your ducks in a row when it comes to the money that's coming in and actually what is going on with it, specifically when it comes to subscriptions, because to me, that's my issue. My issue is subscriptions. It's not the one-time big purchases, because that stuff is very easy to plan out for in the future or in advance and whatnot. It's the ongoing subscriptions that you subscribe to and then you forget about because maybe it's coming out once a month, or maybe it's coming out once every 6 months or once a year, and you forget about how that all turns out, right? And so with Monarch Money, you can start managing your finances to help build the life that you actually want, because Monarch makes managing money simple, easy for us people who have very busy lives, right? You can put all of your accounts, credit cards, investments in just one place, so you always know where your money stands without any hassle. Because here's the deal, financial stress is one of the top issues when it comes to Americans, right? We deal with a lot of financial stress, and Monarch makes conversations very, very easy when it comes to money. So get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code Quita, Quita, at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That is 50% off of your first year with Monarch Money at monarchmoney.com with code Quita. All right, let's get back to the games that were. Let's get back to the games that was. And Terrence says, yeah, I get stuck with subscription. Yeah. That's a real issue for me. That's a real issue for me. Okay, real issue. Jay Jay says, hey Quita, think y'all will beat the Lynx again heading to the game. No, I don't think we'll beat the Lynx again. I mean, I hope as a Sky fan, yes, I think that would be awesome. However, as a neutral observer of women's basketball, no, I don't think so. I am going to the game though. Yeah. I am going to the game. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the other games that was yesterday. And I want to talk about the Atlanta Dream versus the New York Liberty. Now, here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal. Atlanta Dream versus New York Liberty. I thought this game can go either way. The reason why I thought it can go either way is because this Atlanta Dream team is actually a really, really good squad, right? They're a really, really good squad. Even with Ryan Howard out, like they're still a really good squad, right? And then we also have for the New York Liberty, they still have Jonquel Jones who's out, and so it's one of those things where both teams are missing a key player on their team, right? Both were missing a key player. But at the end of the day, we end up seeing the New York Liberty take down the Atlanta Dream. Final score of the game was 79-72. And this game was all about the response from the New York Liberty from the first half to the second half. Because sometimes you come into a game and you lay an egg in the first half. Sometimes that's what you do. Sometimes you lay an egg. Sometimes you just can't hit nothing to save your life. You can't hit anything, right? You're like Sabrina Ionescu, who like was kind of struggling to shoot, right? Right? You have times where you just can't do anything. But how does the rest of your team respond to that? And for New York, laid a big old egg in the first half, but in the second half, they were like, you know what? We got to play better. We got to do our thing. And we got to win this game because we cannot be losing to the Atlanta Dream. And the New York Liberty do just that. Ultimately, we see the New York Liberty still figure out a way to get the dub on the back of the player known as Leonie Fibish, right? Who had a really good game. The German herself, she had a really, really, really good game. And same thing for Breanna Stewart, kind of helping this team ultimately get the dub. Really good minutes off the bench for both Kennedy Burke and Isabel Harrison. And ultimately, sometimes you have a player who just struggles. Like, again, to be more particular about Sabrina Ionescu, she was bad yesterday. She just was, right? Everybody who watched, everybody who knows anything about basketball could watch the game and be like, oh, yeah, that's a really bad game. Really, really bad game for Sabrina Ionescu, right? in terms of scoring, right? 0 for 7 from the 3-point line, right? This is someone who went 3 of 20 from the field. Like, bad. Not normal for Sabrina Ionescu. But still, what did she do? She still passed the basketball around, tried to get her teammates involved, right? And didn't have very many turnovers. So yes, bad shooting game, absolutely, facts. But what else can you do to help your teammates win the game? And what else can your teammates do to help kind of step up and lead the team, right? And that's what Leonie Phoebus did yesterday, right? That's what she did in her 21 points yesterday. 4 for 5 from the 3-point line. Big threes for Leonie, right? It's Stewie being Stewie down low, right? Double for her, 18 points for her, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Like, she does her thing, right? Absolutely does her thing. And as a team, this New York Liberty team ultimately gets the dub versus the Atlanta Dream. Remember, guys, as I said earlier, Ryan Howard was out. She's out. She was out yesterday, and that was a huge loss, right? Alicia Gray, who has been cooking this year, has struggled, right? She struggled recently, right? In the game last week on Friday against Indiana, Alicia only scored 6 points. And then in yesterday's game, she only has 16. Now, is that still really good for most players? Absolutely. Absolutely, but it's the way she did it, right? Her 16 points was on 23% shooting from the field. Like, that's not good. Especially for a player like Alicia Gray, someone who is in the MVP conversation, right? That's not good. Right? And so not having Ryan Howard is a huge loss for this team, because Ryan, in some ways, Ryan really does allow Alicia Gray to go off, right? So think about this. Okay, so when it comes to the guards for the Atlanta Dream, right? And you're playing defense. When Alicia Gray gets the ball, she can't be your primary focus when it comes to guard defense, because you then have Ryan Howard who can get the ball and make some stuff happen. And so, like, it's a 1-2 punch with them in those guard spots, because either one of them can go off. And so because she can't be the sole focus on defense, she ends up cooking, right? But when Ryan Howard is not in the game, when she's out, all eyes are on Alicia Gray, and she struggles a little bit, right? She struggled against Indiana. She struggled against the New York Liberty in terms of efficiency. Now, yes, she still gets 16 points, but, like, still, in terms of efficiency and in terms of just how it's done, it's not as great. And so, like, that's why it is so important to have just bucket getters in your starting lineup, right? That's why it's important, because it allows your teammates to get more opportunities if the defense is not only afraid of your teammate, but they're afraid of you too, right? There's something to that. There's absolutely something to that. And ultimately, the Atlanta Dream lose. Brianna Jones was not as dominant as she has been in past games. She only had 8 points yesterday, and you need Brianna Jones to score around 13, 14 points a game. That's what you need, right? Especially if you don't have Ryan Howard in the game, and ultimately we see the result, and the New York Liberty end up taking it to the Atlanta Dream and end up winning the game. All right. Next up. We're finally talking about the team that y'all Y'all been talking about this since the start of the game. Or since the start of the live stream, okay? Y'all been talking about the Wings versus the Fever. And we're going to get into it. Okay? Okay, we're going to get into it. Okay, so yesterday we saw the Indiana Fever take it to the Dallas Wings. 102 to 83. 102 to 83. And I just got to say, man, hey, the Indiana Fever they looking good. Now, yes, sure. Whatever, you can talk about the Dallas Wings not being a very good team, but the Dallas Wings have been playing a whole lot better recently as of late. But in yesterday's game, dog. The Indiana Fever couldn't be stopped. Okay? Couldn't be stopped yesterday. They were rocking and rolling at home. And it started from the get-go because when you have a really good first half, you can just maintain for the rest of the game. And that's exactly what the Indiana Fever did. They came out the gate running beast mode. Okay? And I gotta talk about this because, I gotta talk about it. After the game was over, I saw a lot of chatter online about the Indiana Fever. And it seems now if this does not apply, let it fly. Okay? If this does not apply to you, don't take offense, let it fly. Okay? Okay. I've seen some people online, specifically on social media, that basically try their best to pit Indiana Fever players against each other and to pit the coaches against the players for the Indiana Fever. Right? In advance of the game yesterday, I saw a narrative saying that Natasha Howard wants to sabotage Caitlin Clark's career. Right? And it was like, okay, well, what? Like, well, Natasha Howard does not like Caitlin, and, these two players can't do anything together. These two players are, now I will say that, they're not as effective on the court together. However, it's not a conspiracy. I've seen stuff that basically says that, Stephanie White is trying to ruin Caitlin Clark's career. Trade her if you're not going to get rid of the coach. Trade her if you're not going to get rid of all the players because they're not looking out for Caitlin's best interest and heart and blah 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 blah. Now, hopefully for all those people who said all that stuff, hopefully yesterday kind of proved something to y'all, right? It should have, right? Yesterday, the Indiana Fever combined for a whopping 8 turnovers all game. 8 turnovers. Fantastic, guys. When we saw the Indiana Fever play yesterday, they were absolutely rocking and rolling. They looked good. They looked cohesive, and they look like a team that means business and a team that is really starting to gel. Right? Really starting to gel. And it starts with the starting lineup. Now, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this because they look great. The Indiana Fever looked fantastic yesterday, okay? Let's talk about it, okay? First, we're gonna go down the line from top to bottom. Top to bottom, we're gonna go down the line. Okay, first up, we gotta talk about Caitlin. And yesterday I also saw a lot of people who was like, oh, see, Caitlin, she's still not good. She's still playing terrible and blah 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 blah. Here's the deal, y'all. It's not all about scoring. Okay? That's something you all need to know. It's not all about scoring. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. When your shot isn't falling, how else are you impacting your team? And that's what Caitlin did yesterday. Okay? That's what Caitlin did yesterday. Okay? 14 points for her. Now, did she shoot well? No, she didn't. Caitlin is still struggling in terms of efficiency from the floor. Right? She's still kind of struggling. Now, yesterday, was she a little bit better? Absolutely. Right? Shot around 33% from the field. Right? 2 of 7 from the 3. So she's making something. But overall, she still is kind of struggling, right? In terms of scoring. But it's not all about scoring. What else did Caitlin do? She passed the basketball. And she limited turnovers. Yesterday, Caitlin had 13 assists, just 2 turnovers. I've said this before, and when I've said it before, people said I was a hater and I didn't like Caitlin. When I look at assists and assists that players have, specifically guards, when I'm looking at the number of assists they had, I also am equally looking at the number of turnovers they had. And yesterday, she's fantastic. Fantastic. Fan-freaking-tastic, guys. Yeah, JS says Caitlin Clark contributed 40 points from points and assists. Yeah. Caitlin was great yesterday. Absolutely spectacular. And it's not all about the scoring. Okay? Sure. If you go off and be very efficient from the field and you absolutely rock out in terms of scoring, is that great? Yes. But if you're struggling to score a little bit, well, can you pass the basketball? Can you actually play some defense? And Caitlin is not the best defender in the world. However, she did end up with 5 steals yesterday, which is kind of wild. Kind of wild to see. And so really good game for her. And who was she passing it to? Well, she passed it to her teammates. Okay. She's passing it to the likes of Kelsey Mitchell, who finished the game with 20 points from the field, guys. 20 points. Right? She's passing it to Aaliyah Boston, AB, 17 points for her. Big time for Aaliyah Boston. Right? She's passing it to Natasha Howard, 18 points for Natasha Howard. Natasha Howard has been on a tear when it comes to recently scoring. Right? She's been rocking and rolling. Right? Talking 16 points in the Commissioner's Cup Championship, winning the MVP of the Commissioner's Cup, with the double-double. Right? 21 points against the LA Sparks recently. 18 points just yesterday. She is doing very, very, very well. Okay? Very, very well. This Fever team is looking very good. They're looking very, very good. And then you have off the bench. Who do you have coming off the bench? Well, you got Sophie Cunningham, right? You got Sophie, who dropped in 13 points, I think, yesterday. She was playing really well also, right? Overall, my point is sometimes it just takes time. Sometimes it just takes time and it takes a little bit of tweaking, right? And it's absolutely observe what's happening on the court, but it's not useful to go all, the world is over, everything's over, it's a conspiracy all the time. Sometimes you could just say, okay, yeah, they're playing bad. We'll see what's going on. But you can just observe what's happening. Not they're out to get her. They're trying to make her career terrible. They're trying to do all this. It's come on now. Just be rational for just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay? All right. So, after that game, the Indiana Fever have moved on to 11-10, 11 wins, 10 losses on the season. I mean, she did though. Mike, she did though. She absolutely did. Okay, that's the Fever. Now let's talk about the Dallas Wings because guys, we need to have a conversation. Okay. We need to have a conversation. And the reason why I named the stream the way I named it is because of this. And so, yeah. Actually, let's see. Jay Kelly says the Fever scored 64 points and a half, the most of any game this season. But this is your headline. Come on, Quita. Yeah, I make the headlines whatever I want to make the headlines. And yeah, did they have a fantastic first half? They absolutely did. However, there is more of a conversation that needs to be had, and I want to have it. I'm going to have it right now about the Dallas Wings. All right. We came into this season with the question mark of how in the world will Paige and Arike work out. Now, what's been solidified is they have both talked very glowingly about each other. Even yesterday, Paige was even after the game, Paige was talking about Arike and her leadership and yada yada yada. Like so clearly they really do like each other, at least from what they've shown, right? Really, really, really good relationship, it seems, that both of these two players have. However, on the court, we're not seeing the consistency that we need to. So first, actually, before we get into it, thank you so much, Stern, for the super chat. Says, Paige is not used to losing, bad coaching, and team. Well, we'll get into that in just a sec. Ghost, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, reasonable take, Quita. I'm sure you'll be punished. Probably. I'll probably have people who are be like, oh, see, she's attacking me. She's doing this. I'm not. A hit dog will holla, and someone else will be like, that wasn't about me. If it don't apply, let it fly. Okay. All right. Here's the deal. Coming into this year, my huge question was, how will Arike and Paige work? Now they got a great relationship with each other. They like each other. Great, fantastic. But on the court, we have not seen a consistency between these two players. And yesterday in the game, Paige Beckers had a really good game, right? She did her thing, right? 21 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Defensively, she did something, right? But I gotta say, when you look at the assists for a point guard, you also have to look at the turnovers for a point guard as well. So it washes out to 0 because she had 4 turnovers as well. So you gotta always admit that and be balanced as well. But she shot 60% from the field, right? 50% from the 3. There were some good positives in Paige's game yesterday. Now, when you look at the rest of their team, you got Paige Beckers, who is a rookie, scoring the most points in your team. Second up, you have Lee Rue, a player you just traded for, right? Who dropped 16 points, 5 rebounds. The next leading scorer for your team is JJ Kennerly, who is turning out to be a really good player and someone who can run the point at times for this Dallas Wings team. I'm actually really, really liking Kennerly's game. If y'all have been rocking with this channel, y'all know I have been singing JJ Kennerly's praises since in earnest last year when she was playing with West Virginia. She played well, I thought. 13 points for her, 4 assists, only 2 turnovers. I would say JJ Kennerly is continuing to get better and better and better. Isaiah James is another player who's continuing to get better and better and better. So, in your starting lineup, you have 3 rookies and Arike and Lee Rue. And in the top scorers for your team, first up, you have a rookie. Second, you have Lee Rue. Third, highest scoring player yesterday for the Dallas Wings is another rookie in JJ Kennerly. And the 4th highest scorer for your team is another rookie, Isaiah James, who had 11. Here's the deal, guys. Yes, some things to note, and we're gonna talk through Arike real quick. So some important things to note. Arike Ogunbowale is finally back. Arike has been out due to injury as of late, right? This is her her 7th year in the WNBA. This is someone who has been all-star, MVP candidate. Like she's been doing her thing. But this year she has dealt with some injury. And so, as a result, she's been missing some games. Right? Arike was out for a couple of games due to a left thumb injury. Yesterday made her return back. So, when we talk about the game that Arike had yesterday, which we're going to talk about, context is key. Context is key. So yes, she just came back from a thumb injury, and so like not the best game for her. So let's get into Arike. Yesterday Arike was bad. Flat out bad, right? 0 for 10 from the field. This is someone who just struggled, you know? Just jacking up shots, missing them. Out of rhythm in terms of her just overall game in general. But again, remember, first game back from injury, right? Yes, she did get her passes in a little bit. Had what, 4 assists, I think, in yesterday's game. So like that's something. But overall, when it comes to Arike Ogunbowale, what do we think about Arike with? When we hear the name Arike Ogunbowale, we think of someone who can score the basketball. Right? That's what we're thinking of. We're thinking of a straight up shooter. That's what we're thinking. And yesterday, it was like, what in the world is that? What are you doing? What is going on? Why is this bad? Yeah, Brett. Yeah. Arike was even missed shots right under the basket. Like there was one where she missed a shot. Then she get her own rebound, and then she threw it back up, and I was like, what in the world? What was that? So either Arike is still, her thumb is still giving her issues, and she's just not ready. Or, I mean, honestly, I think it's just that. Like, she clearly, she was just bad. She's trash. Like, and again, it's not normal for a player like Arike Ogunbowale, which leads us to have a segment about Arike. Okay, so let's have a quick segment. Let's have a quick segment about Arike Ogunbowale, and we'll talk about her and ultimately the season that she is having right now. Okay, because yeah, the struggle fest is struggle festing. Okay, so let me pull up my graphic and we'll get into the Arike of it all. Okay, so if you all aren't aware, Arike Ogunbowale is having what appears to be a very, very tough season for her. A very, very tough season where some serious decisions have to be made. Okay? Now, if we were to look at, guys, if we were to look at Arike Ogunbowale and her stats, if we look at the stats for her entire WNBA career so far, basically this year she is on season lows in basically every single relevant stat. Not good at all. All right, let's get into her actual stats. Okay, so Arike Ogunbowale has been in the WNBA for what, like 7 years now. And Arike, these are her career stats, right? When it comes to her career, she's a baller, right? She's someone who can knock down shots, she can make stuff happen, all that good stuff. All right? And this year, Arike is averaging, Lady Leo, I did not call Arike trash. I said her play yesterday was trash. It was. Like, you can have a trash game and be still a really good player. Arike Ogunbowale, to be clear, is a phenomenal talent in the WNBA. However, two things are true, and make both arguments. Two arguments I'm making in this stream. I am saying that, one, Arike probably shouldn't have came back as soon as she did, because maybe her thumb is hurting her a whole lot more than we thought. And two, even with yesterday's game, even if you ignore yesterday's game, even if you ignore that completely, Arike this year still overall is struggling. And Dallas ultimately has to do something about it. Those are my two arguments. She probably came back too early, and even without that, she is still having worse numbers in just about every single metric this year. So something ultimately needs to be done for her to play at her best, because we know how great of a player Arike is. Now, if you don't know, now let me do a little bit of education for you. If you don't know how great of a player Arike is, she's phenomenal, right? This is someone who just last year was the All-Star MVP. You know, this is someone who was a WNBA first team player. This is someone who at one point in time was someone who was seen as a possible MVP candidate, because Arike Ogunbowale can score the basketball at an elite level. We know that. We've known that since her Notre Dame games, right? Remember when Notre Dame won the championship, and the crazy shots that Arike Ogunbowale was making at the buzzer and all that stuff. Like, that's what Arike does. Big shot taker, big shot maker is Arike Ogunbowale. Okay. Now. Let's get into this year. This year, Arike Ogunbowale is averaging 16 points a game. Now, for most players, that's a great stat line. Okay? That's a fantastic stat line for most players. But most players aren't Arike. Okay? Arike is special. Arike is a high-level talent. Okay? So 16 points a game so far this year. Again, for most players, that's fantastic. Most players would love that. But again, most players are not Arike. Okay? We go down the line. When it comes to field goal percentage, right? So far this year, Arike is shooting 35% from the field. Now, 35% is not terrible. There are players who are averaging way less than 35% shooting from the field, right? But the reason why I wanted to show this graphic in particular, because you can see the trend in her WNBA career, right? This is the lowest points per game she's ever scored, right? Because she spent her whole career with Dallas so far. This is also the worst shooting she has ever had. Now, we all know that she is what you would call a volume shooter. Absolutely. She is what you will call a volume shooter. However, even with that, she has been more efficient than this year. Because before this year, largely, Arike has had the ball in her hands. Right? Arike is a player who does very, very well with the ball in her hands, where she's dribbling and she's trying to figure out what she needs to do, right? She is the final decision maker, is what I'm trying to say, right? That's what we've seen for the most part so far in her career. That's what we've seen. This year is very different, because this year you now have a true point guard, right? You have a true point guard. You have someone who can play the point really well in Paige Bueckers. You also have someone who can also be a really good backup point guard as well in JJ Kennerly, right? So you have other players who can have the basketball in their hands and can make some stuff happen for her teammates, for her teammates. And Arike is one of those players that Arike is not traditionally a catch and shoot type of player. She is someone who dribble, trying to figure out what she wants to do, and then makes a move, drains a shot. That's That's the type of elite baller that Arike Ogunbowale is. But this year, she is scoring the lowest points of her career. She's shooting the worst from the field because, again, she's not, she doesn't have the ball in her hands as much as she has in the past, at least from the eye test. From the eye test, from someone who's actually been watching her since her Notre Dame games, this is her without the basketball probably the most I've seen. It maybe ever, if not for a long time. And even when it comes to three-point shooting, which Arike is, again, some of those big shots are three-point shots that she's made historically. And even this year, the worst of her career from the three. Right? Now, is she the best three-point shooter ever? No, but she is around a 34% shooter from the three. But this year, 29%. Right? Now, one thing that is a great thing about Arike is she's shooting her free field goal, or her free throws, I should say, better than ever. Best year ever for the field goal shooting for Arike Ogunbowale. But just about every other stat, she's worse at. Like she's gotten worse. Right? And the reason why I want to talk about this is not a Quita's picking on Arike. Quita doesn't like Arike. Quita thinks Arike is trash. That's not what I'm saying. The point of going through this is to say that sometimes really, really good players don't work in all systems. Okay? And I think it's important to talk about that because Arike is a really good talent in the WNBA to be playing as inefficiently as she is. Right? Now, again, elite talent, very good player, very good, someone who can score the basketball really well. However, she's also someone who has been used to being the center focus of her team and is used to having the basketball just about all times. Okay? And so the point of this, the Arike of it all, is saying that what had the possibility of being a huge success is not totally working. Scratch out yesterday's game. Scratch out yesterday's game completely from your mind. Sure. Let's say that was all she came back too soon. Even without that being said, even with that out, it's still a big deal. Still a big deal. And I do gotta say, some point, something has to be done, right? Sure. Does that mean that Arike should leave from Dallas? I don't necessarily think so. But I do think that some of the things that make Arike such a great player is her having the basketball. And when you have two potential point guards in Paige and JJ, that could change things up a little bit. And so from a coaching perspective, now, yes, forget the injury part. From a coaching perspective, I do think that this means that Dallas does need to make some tweaks, right? You need to make some tweaks where you have designed plays where Arike has the ball for a huge part of a possession and can make some decisions and get her comfortable early in a game, so that way, she just kind of flows as the game kind of goes on. So like, that's my thing. My thing is Dallas needs to make an adjustment. They need to make an adjustment, right? Chris Koklanis needs to make an adjustment to say, okay, well, we see the numbers are down for Arike. And so what do we want to do? Do we want to make some design plays where she has the ball in her hands for a good amount of the possession, for the start of a possession? Or do we want to continue where things are right now? And so, yeah. I do think it's something that the Dallas Wings have to make some sort of decision about. All right. I think some sort of decision has to be made about like how to best put her and the rest of the team in the best situation possible for future winning. Because if you can figure out a way to have her at where she was last year in terms of her shooting, in terms of her just overall confidence on the court, if you're able to pair that with Paige, pair that with Isaiah, pair that with JJ, this Dallas Wings team is looking really, really good. And so that's something to note. That's the Arike of it all. I wanted to just talk about that in a real way. Now, will some people misunderstand me? Yes. But the purpose of this channel, the perfect purpose of what I do here is not to rag on players. I don't think I've ever done that. It's never at how many attacks. It's never a thing where, oh, this player is, blah, 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 blah. No, the way this player played was bad. It really was. Now, what are some alternatives? What are some options about what can be done to fix it, right? And so when I talk about this, when I talk about people on this channel, this is not a personal thing. This is what I see from a basketball perspective on the court. And I'm going to say it, and, it is what it is. And so truly, is Arike an elite player? Absolutely. In my opinion, she is. Maybe you all may disagree with that. But what I've seen in Notre Dame, what I've seen in her multiple years in Dallas so far is she is an elite player. She really is. She's a scorer, right? Efficiency-wise, is she the best? No, she's not. However, she's able to score that basketball, whether that be the three, whether that be get into the rim, whatever it may be. That's what Arike can do. But this year, it's clearly not been a fantastic year for her, and I think there's some stuff that that the Dallas Wings, maybe even her, need to work on. Figuring out a way to have Arike still be effective off ball, and giving her specific periods in the game when she is when she can have the ball and kind of run the plays like that. I would say it should be more of a start off the game, giving her a couple of plays where it's like she comes down with the basketball and she's initiating the offense, and then having if you start off that way, hopefully as the game kind of goes on, she'll kind of make some stuff happen. So that's my thoughts right there. Again, this is not a personal attack. Iron says, quit making excuses again. It's not an excuse. I don't think so. Arike, a huge part, in my opinion, a big part of yesterday's game was because she wasn't ready to come back. That's my opinion. Her going 0 for 10, I think it shows that she wasn't ready to come back. Now, the rest of the season is a conversation that's a legit thing. Even if you take out yesterday's game, like her numbers are still not great, right? And so, yeah. Julie says, isn't Arike entitled to have a bad game? Yes, she absolutely is. And so, again, I say scratch yesterday's game. Scratch yesterday's game. Even if you take yesterday's game out completely out of the picture, her numbers still are her numbers for the season, right? Tulip says she has checked out. Time for a trade. I don't think it's fair to say she checked out. I don't know. I don't know if she's. I mean, the only people who would know would be her and the team. I don't know if she's checked out, but it's not totally working. To have her play at her best the way things currently are for the Dallas Wings. So I really do think that Chris Koklanis needs to do something different. All right. Arturo says Arike is a pure ISO player. She's not used to being anything other than the lead player. I do think you're right. I really do. She is someone who is very, she is used to, just having the ball and just kind of making stuff happen, and playing second fiddle, is not something she's necessarily used to. Though she has played with some elite talent before. Remember, her and even in Dallas the last couple of years, her and Satu were rocking and rolling, right? Her and Marina Mabry, right, before Marina got traded to Chicago. Even in college, her, Marina, and didn't Jackie play for Notre Dame at that time? I think Jackie too. Yeah, but anyway, she's used to playing. She has played with some really good talent before. It's just that she did still have the ball in a lot of ways. All right. Okay. Tisha says Arike has had a bad season, and that is okay. Arike is still a gem and a critical player of the system. Tweaks just need to be made. Y'all are so fickle. Yeah, I don't think she necessarily has to be traded. I mean, truly, yeah, I agree, Tisha. There needs to be tweaks that need to be made. Absolutely, because we all know how great of a player she is. We all know. Again, guys, last year, Arike was towards the top of the leaderboard when it comes to the WNBA. 22 points a game. We know how great of a player she is. It's just that, hasn't been the usual for Arike. And I do think that Chris Koklanis has to make some changes to have her, playing at her optimum. Because that's going to be winning basketball, right? That's going to be winning basketball for the Dallas Wings. Just saying. Because they got some really good players on the team in terms of, everything fitting together. So, yeah. That is my thoughts. Okay? Okay. Let's move on. All right. All right. Now, I want to actually talk about some other news that happened over the weekend. Just real quick hitters to get through. Oh, we got a super chat. Thank you so much to Women's Sports Champ for the super chat. Says Paige thrives in structure, smart, steady, coachable, and team first. Arike style, ISO hunters break rhythm and spacing in a system. In a system that style hurts more than it helps. There is a way to kind of merge that though. To have structure while also having strategic points of ISO ball, strategic points of just take it and hoop type of thing. I think both can actually can actually work together. At least I think so, at least. All right, wait. Okay. All right, let's get into some other news that happened over the weekend. And first, I have to talk about the all-time WNBA assist record. Can we give a shout out in the chat? Can we give a shout out in the chat to both Natasha Cloud and Skylar Diggins? Because both of these players have been rocking and rolling in their WNBA careers, and both of these players have gotten a awesome thing to add to the books. Natasha Cloud and Skylar Diggins Smith over the weekend, they tied for 8th place when it comes to the all-time WNBA assist list. So both of these players are tied. At 1,638 assists for each of these players. I'm just saying, they have both passed Candace Parker, who is now at number 10 when it comes to all-time assists in the WNBA. Of course, Sue Bird is at the top. It's going to be hard for anybody to catch Sue Bird. But I just wanted to mention this. I think this is awesome. It's important that, like, yes, we talk about the games of it all and whatnot, and that's important. But we also got to talk about what some of these current players are doing when it comes to the record books. Okay, so shout out to all-time 8th place for now, Skylar Diggins and Natasha Cloud, who have each 1,638 assists. Okay. Now let's move on because there's some other stuff that happened over the weekend, right? There's some other stuff, and I got to talk about the Rook herself. Her name is Kiki Iriafen, and y'all, Kiki Iriafen is rocking and rolling with the Washington Mystics. Yesterday, Kiki Iriafen made Washington Mystics history by passing Shamika Holdsclaw with her 7th double-double, which is the most as a rookie in Washington Mystics history. Okay? So shout out to the rookie. Shout out to the rookie who has been doing her big one all season long for the Washington Mystics. I have been a huge fan of what Kiki Iriafen has done this year. She has been playing unafraid, rocking and rolling. Bishop says Washington Mystics won the draft. I mean, yeah. In a lot of ways they did win the draft. In a lot of ways they did, you know? So shout out to Kiki Iriafen. Huge stuff that she's doing. Again, she is in the record books for the Washington Mystics as the rookie who has had the most double-doubles during their rookie season, passing the great Shamika Holdsclaw. Okay? All right. Now we're continuing to go down the line of people who have done some kind of fantastic stuff, some fantastic stuff. And if we're talking about players on the East Coast that's doing fantastic stuff, can we talk about the legend in Tina Charles? Tina Charles yesterday, over the weekend, also made a bit of WNBA history as well. She made some history as well as she has surpassed 8,000 points for the legend Tina Charles. Okay. When we talk about greatness, when we talk about points, greatness and points in terms of just scoring the basketball and being efficient, we got 2 names at the top of the list. 2 names. We got Diana Taurasi, the GOAT, right? And we have Tina Charles. And over the weekend, Tina Charles became the second WNBA player ever to hit 8,000 points. Second player ever. All right, so it's her and Diana in a field of their own. And in third place, of course, is DeWanna Bonner, who hit that earlier this year. All right. It's elite. I mean, it's what legends do, right? It's not all about just scoring in one year, right? It's about the longevity of players' careers, and Tina Charles is someone who has been in the WNBA for a long time, and she's been rocking and rolling, absolutely rocking and rolling. And so I had to make sure to give a shout out to her for hitting that mark, 8,000 and counting points for the legend Tina Charles. Okay. It doesn't end there. We also had some not so great news over the weekend. As we saw some players get waived, including Marquisha Davis for the New York Liberty. Remember, guys, this is her second year in the WNBA. She won a championship with the New York Liberty last year, and Marquisha Davis was waived. She is one of the latest wave of players getting waived. The thing is, the cut down date has passed, and players who are still on teams are now on guaranteed contracts for the rest of the year. Okay. The date was, what was it, the 13th? And so every player from now until the end of the season are on guaranteed contracts. Okay, so this was yesterday was the midseason cut down date, which happens 24 hours before the midseason day, and so yeah, this means that past yesterday, all players who are currently on a roster who were on a non-guaranteed deal, it's guaranteed now. It's guaranteed now, and I gotta go to work. Oh my goodness. All right, guys, I gotta go. So here's some players who got cut. Marquisha Davis. We also saw Alyssa Peely get cut as well by the Minnesota Lynx. We saw Mercedes Russell get waived from the Seattle Storm. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I ran right out of time. Okay, some other players who got waived include Stephanie Talbot, who was waived by the Golden State Valkyries. We also saw, I couldn't find a Connecticut Sun jersey. We also saw Jaylen Brown and Haley Peters get waived by the Connecticut Sun. All right, so that's the stuff that happened over the weekend. Thank y'all so much for rocking with me. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I got to go. See y'all in the next one tomorrow. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, tell a neighbor, tell a friend that Quita Love Sports is on the internet talking about what's happening in the world of women's basketball without the drama, without the craziness, but with just straight facts. So make sure to subscribe. And I will be with y'all tomorrow morning again. All right, see y'all next one. Bye-bye.